Kia ora te whānau, ko Brendan aho. Most people I see already know what they should be doing for their health, but they're not doing it. And most people think that's their fault. They think they lack discipline or motivation, or that they just need to try harder. But what if that belief isn't actually yours? I hear this all the time in my mahi as a pharmacist. I know what to do, I just don't do it. And instead of telling people what to do, I've started taking a step back and trying to understand what actually is making it hard. Because when you sit with that question for a bit, you start to realise maybe it's not just about discipline. Maybe we've been taught to see health in a certain way that actually doesn't work for us. I've been reflecting on some of the work of the late great Moana Jackson, particularly his idea of myth takes. These are the stories we're told to make colonisation seem more acceptable than it actually was. Things like colonisation here in Aotearoa was somehow more fair or more kind or more justified. But as he makes it clear, that's not the reality. Colonisation wasn't and isn't kind, and it wasn't and isn't fair. But what's more dangerous than the events themselves is what those events teach us to believe. Because over time, those systems shape the way we see the world and the way we see ourselves. So when it comes to health, that shows up as, I should be doing better. I just need to be more disciplined, and I know what to do, I just don't do it. But when you zoom out a bit, you start to see a lot of what shapes our health was never neutral to begin with. The environments we live in, the food that's most available and accessible, the way healthcare is structured, the time pressures, the stress, the access, these things just didn't happen by accident. They've been shaped over time by systems, by decisions, by power. It's like blaming the tree without ever looking at the soil it's growing in. And this is where I think this kōrero becomes really important for health. Because if we keep framing health as just better choices, we miss everything that's actually making those choices hard. I see this in practice all the time. I still hear things like, I treat my patients all the same, or I don't see ethnicity, I just see a person needing care. And yeah, on the surface, that can sound fair, but in reality, it ignores the very things that shape people's health in the first place. Dr. Rhys Jones speaks to this directly. He talks about how avoiding terms like ethnicity or colonisation isn't neutral. It actually maintains the status quo. Because if we don't name the problem, we can't address it. He also reframes culturally safe care as evidence-based care. Not a nice to have, but something grounded in real outcomes, real data, and real lived experience. It challenges this idea that treating everyone the same leads to the same outcomes. For me, this is quite personal in my role as a Māori pharmacist. I posted about equity and ethnicity online, and someone responded saying things like, equity is a fraught term, and I don't see ethnicity, I see a vulnerable human. But what that does, whether intentional or not, is ignore the reality of how colonisation continues to shape people's lives. And when we ignore that, we also ignore the barriers that people are actually facing. This connects to the work of Linda Tuhiwai Smith as well. She talks about real decolonisation isn't just about systems, it's about healing from the messages we've internalised. Unlearning the idea that being Māori is a disadvantage. Unlearning the idea that we are the problem. Because once those beliefs take hold, they shape everything. How we engage with healthcare, how we see our own potential, whether we even feel like change is possible. And that's why I think this kōrero matters so much. Because it shifts the starting point. Instead of, I just need to try harder, it becomes, Maybe there's a reason this has been so hard, and that doesn't remove responsibility, but it changes how we carry it. Because once you start to see what's actually going on, you can start to respond differently. Not from guilt, not from shame, but from understanding. For me, that's where re-indigenisation looks like in practice. It's not just a theory, it's about centering whānau, restoring Māori-led approaches to care, and grounding health in our ways of knowing and being. It's about shifting from systems that were never designed for us to approaches that come from us. Because at the end of the day, this is about more than just health. It's about who gets to define well-being and whose knowledge counts. So yeah, it's not just about better choices, but once you start to see where those ideas come from, you can start to think differently about your health and what's actually possible for you. Ka mihi mahana, mai uri ora.